Movie versus movie. Movie versus movie.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2026 return of Movie versus Movie. I'm Nick, your co-host, and with me is my other co-host, Patrick. How have you been? What's up?
Hey, I've been good, and I've missed you, and I've missed this podcast. So I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, it's been a crazy end of the year last year. We got to the point, too, where we were like, are we still going to do the new Lethal Weapon or Naked Gun? And what was the other one?
The Weird Al movie.
The Weird Al movie. And I was like, it's been so long. Will we remember it? But yeah, we can, we'll return to that in a little bit. But it is Oscar season, Patrick. And I thought, what a great way to start the new year by kind of going through and maybe making some bets on what our thoughts are on some categories. We've just talked a little bit off mic, and we think we're going to do all the acting categories, animated feature film, best picture, and then director as well. So yeah, and then maybe at the end we talk a little bit about what we might want to do for the coming year for Movie versus Movie. How's that sound to you, Patrick?
That sounds great. I'm excited to talk about it.
Then, Patrick, why don't you pick our first category for everybody? Why don't we, when we pick a category, we'll go through what movies, and then for the acting ones, which actor and which movie that they're in, so people can follow along. But where do you want to start?
Let's start with, what about supporting actress? Because I think this is a pretty strong and interesting category.
Yeah.
So you want me to run down the nominees for best supporting actress?
Yeah, hit us with it.
So 2 nominees from Sentimental Value, which I have not seen yet. That one's pretty high on my list.
Yeah.
Okay. So Elle Fanning and Inga Ibsdottir Lilius. Then Amy Madigan from Weapons, Aunt Gladys herself. Wunmi Masaka from Sinners, and Tiana Taylor from One Battle After Another.
Yeah.
So I've seen all the other ones other than Sentimental Value. Have you seen all of them?
I haven't seen Weapons or Sinners, actually. That's the one that I need to watch. I know, Pillory Me, it's crazy. I've listened to the soundtrack. What happened was...
Of Sinners? Oh, wow.
Of Sinners, yeah, I love it. It's so great. But Alice saw it, my wife, and then I just sort of missed it. And then it was like too close to it for her to rewatch it with me. And so we're going to rewatch it soon before the Oscars. So that will be, that will be the time.
Nice. Well, it's funny that those are the 2 you haven't seen, because those are the 2 like big horror genre pictures that have, I guess, Weapons. This is really the only nomination I think it got, but well deserved. But I feel like that seems like as part of recent trends in the Oscars towards having a younger voting body and like appealing to things that are popular more.
Totally.
Which in my mind, like, this is way better to me than like Marvel movies getting nominated. I mean, except like Black Panther, got stuff. But I think it's fun that, like, I mean, Sinners was like, one of the biggest hits of the year, and got a ton of nominations.
Yeah, most ever, right? Most ever for one picture.
Yeah, I think so. And then Weapons, I feel like was a fairly successful movie for the size, and I was kind of hoping to see it pop up. I think there was a chance it could have made it into Best Picture, but I think it got squeezed out. But honestly, Weapons is very fun. I know you're not a...
no, this is the thing, is that I was watching it and I was like, this looks spooky in the exact way that I really like, of just like, this is creepy as hell. It feels like very kind of Twin Peaksy in a weird way, like something is wrong in this town kind of thing, because I don't know. I don't know much about it other than the trailers I watched, and I was so excited for it. But then I couldn't convince anyone that was like around at the time to go see it with me, and then I was just like, I don't want to go on my own. I'm gonna be so scared. So that's kind of what happened there.
Well, it's a great time, and it's Amy Madigan's performance is pretty instantly iconic, and so it's cool to see. It's cool to see it get nominated. I don't know there's a chance she could win, honestly. I feel like it's I would assume it's between her and Tiana Taylor.
Interesting.
Would be my guess.
So here's my feeling about the sentimental value noms is that sentimental value, when I went to see it, I thought this is a fantastic film. It was trying to do too much in the script, I think, which was to its detriment. It felt like a little heavy, like a little... it was trying to do too much, and so it didn't do any one thing as fully as I think that they really had the capacity to do. But the acting was absolutely incredible. And there was a ton of different types of acting showcased. Like there was some super naturalistic acting, and then there was also some that was like a little bit more audacious and like a little bit more sort of Baroque in a weird way. But I found the acting to be the thing that shined in that movie to more than anything else. And the two that are here, Elle Fanning, she was great in it. I don't think that I would put her performance in the in this sort of level, I guess. But Inga was incredible. It was it was as though I was, and sounds really stupid to say when you're talking about acting, but it was as though I was just watching a real person talk to her sister. Like it was completely there was no acting to be had. It was just completely dropped in and naturalistic in a way that I was just really awestruck by. So I think that she could she was fabulous. So that might be, for me on this list, it would be between Inga and Tiana Taylor.
Okay. I think just purely math, going not off of the value. I'm like, two actresses from the same movie. I could see them splitting vote from people who are fans of that movie.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Bunmi Masaka part in Sinners is also such a great example of actual supporting actress. I feel like there's a tendency for some category fraud where someone gets slotted into supporting who's really kind of the lead of the movie. Yeah. Her character in that is an amazing supporting role that has a ton of depth and emotionality to her character and a whole arc within the story, but is by no means the main main 3 or 4. There's probably 3 or 4 characters, maybe even 5 in the movie who have more of a prevalent arc, but you're she really delivers in such a way that makes it memorable, which I think is great to see her nominated.
That's a really great point about sort of the category fraud. I had never really thought of it that way, but that's absolutely true. It happens all the time. What do you think about Tiana Taylor? I mean, she was fabulous. I mean, so great. In a way, it kind of feels like maybe this is she kind of is such a big presence in that film. Almost, it feels like half the movie is centered either on her acting or centered around characters interacting with her, even when it's the flashbacks and things. So for me, that would make this one feel a little bit more I guess closer to the category fraud that you were talking about. What do you think?
Yeah. So I just rewatched One Battle this weekend because I watched, I watched the Battle of Algiers, which is, I think it's made by an Italian director, actually. Movie from the 50s, 60s, maybe. That is the movie in One Battle After Another that Bob is watching on the couch getting high when everything goes down. Yeah. It's from the 60s. Okay. But a very famous movie about an anti-colonial revolution in Algeria. It's incredible. Insanely tense and I highly recommend it. But so I watched that and then was like, it's a good movie, one battle after another. And so I just put it on afterwards. But yeah, it's really like, her character is the lead for the first, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
But then even, she completely drops out of the movie, and, the rest of the movie, like, I don't even think you see her face again. Even
we
at
see
the end.
her in the Lockjaw flashbacks, don't we? Or does that happen in that first 40 minutes and then it's just referenced?
Yeah, I don't
that
think
could
there's
be the
any.
case.
I was like, I don't even know if it shows her. You hear her voice at the end, and so it is a fascinating thing where she completely leaves the movie, but her character is such a presence over the rest of the movie that she does still feel like one of the leads. And just, her performance is so,
memorable.
I don't know, memorable, audacious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have liked to see, watching it again too, Chase Infinity, who plays Willa, would have been great to see her get a nomination. I'm like, is she lead? Because then once Tiana Taylor leaves the movie, we don't see Willa until Tiana Taylor leaves the movie, obviously. And then from then on, I would say she's a lead.
Yeah.
So
right.
I don't know if they ran her in lead or not, but
we'll see.
But yeah, okay. Are you stamping your?
So I want to hear your thoughts, because like my thought would be, if we're thinking classic naturalistic acting to like an incredibly high degree and feels very much like a support character, I would have to go with Inga from Sentimental Value. I think that was just like, it's just a masterclass in naturalistic acting. However, I feel like Tiana Taylor, like that movie, it has such a presence in my mind from the last year. Like, I think it was probably the biggest movie event I experienced in the last year. So it kind of makes me want to give something to her as well, but she was fabulous in it. So I'm really split between these two. If you're going to do Tiana Taylor, then I'll go Inga. But if you're feeling Amy Madigan, then I would maybe do Tiana Taylor.
So I think I'm feeling Amy Madigan, partly because it's the complete opposite of what you just described Inga's performance as, of like naturalistic acting. Like I won't try to say stuff without spoiling the movie, but like Weapons kind of sets itself up as this like ensemble drama of like,
Sure.
There's this town and we're introduced to all these different characters who are like dealing with their own arcs and intersecting in certain ways. And then at a certain point in the movie, Aunt Gladys shows up. And once Aunt Gladys shows up, it's kind of Aunt Gladys's movie until the end. And she's really laying on the ham for a lot of it in the best way. And so it is like maybe the like most performance of any of these. But it's also, I think, like, she's also an actress who I didn't really know who she was. I think she's been around forever and like is in a lot of movies. I think is in like Field of Dreams, and she's just someone who's like been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see her kind of go for it in a big way with this kind of performance and get nominated for it. So I think that would be a very cool win. I could also see Tiana Taylor.
Let's do it then. I'll do Tiana Taylor so that we have her on the board, because I feel like she deserves it. And I think this is the year of sort of the break with traditional naturalism. You know what I mean? When it comes to a lot of these awards, like Sinners is kind of like a pulpy genre film. One Battle After Another is sort of this huge kind of, I don't even know, blockbuster almost.
Yeah.
I feel like this isn't the year of the art house movie. So I am going to do Tiana Taylor.
Awesome.
What about you? You're gonna do Amy Madigan?
I'm locking it in on Amy Madigan.
I'm writing these down so that we can review them when this comes
Cool.
out. And we are great. Okay, cool. Then why don't we slip on over to actor in a supporting role?
Let's do it.
I mean, this one is so clear for me. Like, it is so not even a choice. I mean, there's two that I really like, but for me, it's Benicio del Toro in One Battle After Another. Let's go through the list. There's Benicio del Toro in One Battle After Another. Frankenstein was also nominated with Jacob Elordi's performance. In Sinners, another nomination for Delroy Lindo. Sean Penn in One Battle After Another, which I think would be my second, I guess. And then Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value. He was fabulous, but I didn't think he did anything extraordinary. For me, it's very clearly between Sean Penn and Benicio del Toro. Both of those characters loom so large in my memory, to the point where it's like, especially with Sean Penn, like his character was so specific and like so big. And then real life sort of validated all of his choices in a way that I think is sort of like, you have to hand it to him. He knew what he was doing. But what about you? Do you have any other thoughts other than Benicio or Sean Penn?
This is I feel like this is also a very strong category. I'm pretty firmly in the Benicio bag.
Yeah.
Watching that again, when I watched Battle of Algiers, and initially I was like, I'm just gonna watch the middle section from Bob getting to the Sensei's dojo to him falling off the roof, or even after that to him like escaping the hospital, because I was like, that was the part of the movie that had me like levitating. And so much of it is just like Benicio's
vibe, but in the best way. It's just like, he's so charismatic and cool.
He's so just effortlessly cool. And then I ended up watching the whole movie. I was like, well, I'll just put on the beginning too. And then I watched the whole movie. But he just, again, just in terms of a supporting character who enters the movie and exits the movie at a certain point, and just like elevates it in such a way. And in some ways, like in my mind, I don't know, kind of states or like demonstrates the thesis of the movie, even though it's not like the main thing that it's about. Yeah. Or I don't know, not the thesis, but like kind of a larger, I don't know, kind of philosophical angle. We talked about it a lot in our other episode, but Sean Penn, it's like so, an insane performance and would be deserving. You also just think about the like, do I want to hear Sean Penn give a speech?
Yeah,
because it's one of those performances where you're like, does he know like what he's doing? It's not like quite on the level, but it's like Kevin O'Leary and Marty Supreme this year, where you're like, oh, this guy's actually evil. Yeah. I think Sean Penn is evil in a different way, but also potentially just like an evil being or nefarious in a certain way. So I don't know. I think this came up on another movie podcast I listened to, but this idea that as soon as they gave Adrian Brody the Oscar last year and he like spit out his gum and handed it to Harvey Weinstein's ex, who he's now with, like the entire Academy was like, oh no, we've made a horrible mistake giving this award to him. And then he got up there and gave his like excruciating speech, and you're like, maybe Sean Penn's more the type to just go up there and grumble like, thank you, and walk off. But you're like, does the walk.
I guess the only thing that I could see is that like Sean Penn has been an institution for so long. So it might be like, let's cap off his career with this last Oscar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think Benicio deserves it way more. Because also, here's my argument too for Benicio, and not that I think you disagree with me, but my argument for Benicio as well is that he took, like, that character was almost nothing in the script, and he made it something way like it definitely transcends what he was given. Like he made that part into something that everybody remembers, even though it was kind of a nothing part. And even was like a writing partner in like fleshing out that character. And I think that not that like all artists or all actors have to be multidisciplinary, but I think that shows a lot of artistic merit. And then also the fact that he was able to elevate this thing into a place where like it's pretty clear, I think, that everyone is going to be rooting for him. So like I think that Benicio for me is just takes it. Like I'm going to vote for Benicio. So what about you?
Yeah, I think I will too. I'll speak briefly on the others. Elordi, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen Frankenstein. I probably won't. It doesn't seem like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like my thing. Elordi just as a performer has grown on me. I think I don't even know if I've seen him in Saltburn. I'm trying to even think if I've seen him in anything else, but I'm like, he seems like an exciting, promising actor. I'm sure he'll have more to come. Delroy Lindo in Sinners, also excellent. Also just like perfect supporting character. Enters the movie, has his own little arc that's not, fully wrapped up in the main story, but just like absolutely crushes his part. And would love to see him get, someone who's had a long career. I don't think has won an Oscar. I don't even know if he's ever been nominated. And then Stellan Skarsgård, again, haven't seen Sentimental Value, but I think between Stellan Skarsgård and Song Kang-ho, the Korean actor who's in all the Bong Joon-ho movies, potentially two of my two favorite living actors, where just anytime they pop up, I'm just like, yes, I'm in. I'm in. Whatever you're selling, I'm buying. So has Stellan won an Oscar?
Let me look.
I think too, I'm like, in my mind, this is he's getting nominated for Luthen from Andor. So I'm like, yeah.
He won a Golden Globe for Sentimental Value, but he also has earned an Emmy, but I don't see.
He's been nominated. He has not won. He also apparently had a stroke within the last couple of years, and like has had to been like reading his lines essentially. And which is just, it's incredible.
I mean, he still was able, that role was a very interesting one, very complex. And it's one of those characters that never says what he feels, if that makes sense. And so the sort of acting had a lot of layers to it. It was fabulous, but it's also not something that I was like, this is transcendent. Like this doesn't, move my heart in a way that makes me want to support. But he is fabulous. I think he's probably one of my favorite actors. I think right now, Benicio del Toro has entered that canon for me. Like anytime I see him in a movie, I'm just like, this is going to be great. Yeah.
He's incredible. And just like such a handsome guy. I don't know. Just his face. You're just like, wow.
It's like, God, give some of that to me. All right. Ready to move on to actress in her leading role?
Let's do it.
Cool. All right. The nominees are Jessie Buckley for Hamnet, Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Kate Hudson for Song Sung Blue, Renate Rinziv for Sentimental Value, and Emma Stone for Begonia. Now, I'm going to just be open with you. I could not watch Begonia because Alice told me there was a lot of torture in it, and I wouldn't have been able to watch that. I love Emma Stone. I think she's a fabulous actress. She has already received an Oscar for one of her movies that she did with him, right? Which one was it? Favorite? Poor Things.
I think she did. She got it for Poor Things. She maybe got one for The Favorite too.
I don't think that she needs another one in my personal view for this work, though I've heard she was fabulous in it.
She won for Poor Things. She did not. She won for La La Land. She did not win for The Favorite, but she got nominated for The Favorite. So I watched Begonia. I Um, yeah, I think in general with that movie, I think I'm realizing I'm not a huge Yorgos fan overall. There were things about the movie I appreciated. Her performance is very good, but yeah, I don't think, again, she doesn't need the award, and this doesn't feel like the performance that
would get you
is
that
deserving of it. So yeah.
What about the other ones? Have you watched the other ones? Hamnet, I was hearing from Alice that it was a great movie. Some people loved Hamnet. She said it was better than the book, but not something that she would hold up as one of her favorites this year.
Okay. So I saw Hamnet. I thought Hamnet was pretty great. Mm-hmm. I think my money would be on Jessie Buckley for winning this one. I think she's definitely the front runner. It is, yes, it's very much acting with a capital A type performance, but yeah, she's incredible. But just a lot of, there's a lot of clips you can see from the movie that they would play at the Oscars. It's like her Oscars clip, but I thought Hamnet. So I've not read the book, and I am also not a big Shakespeare person. Mm-hmm. So I think part of what that movie's doing is some of the criticisms I've seen of it, I think have to do with the Shakespeare of it all.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if my unfamiliarity with the material of Shakespeare enhanced the viewing experience for me, where I can't recollect the actual plot of the play Hamlet off the top of my head.
Sure.
And kind of what the movie is doing, although I don't think this is totally necessary for it, is kind of like trying to kind of like transmute this real life experience that's not actually, there's hardly any actual known like information about Shakespeare's life, so it's all fiction. But the fact that they had a child that died, kind of trying to like transmute what that experience of grief might have been into the play of Hamlet, and it works really well in the movie. But I saw some criticisms of like, well, the parts of Hamlet that you see really, were kind of cherry picked to fit this narrative, where if you like really think of the actual narrative of the movie, it doesn't make sense. But I think just as a kind of piece of art about how like grief can be transmuted through art on just like a general sense, it works really well.
Yeah,
it does. It is a little bit of that thing where there's like a button or like a dial in the theater, and it was literally like this for me. Like I was watching it, I was compelled, like emotionally connected to the movie, and then there's like one scene where it's like somebody pressed a button and it was just like tears started streaming down my face. And it's not that it wasn't earned, but it was just like I was like, I wasn't expecting this to like, because I knew that was what I knew about the movie, was that like it is bringing people to tears, and I was like expecting it, and I could kind of see where it was going with it. Like it's not trying to hide what it's doing for the most part. And that moment hit, and I was like, yep, it worked.
Yeah.
Got me.
You got me, you son of a bitch.
But yeah, Jessie Buckley is very good. I think Paul Mescal's also quite good in it, although not quite on her level. And he didn't get nominated, which I think is reasonable. But
yeah. And the movie is kind of nominally kind of about her experience, right? So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
That's the lead.
My understanding from the book is that the book is even more, the movie they made, I don't know. I'd be curious to hear Alice's take. But from what I had heard and read was that in the book, like Shakespeare is a very secondary character, and he's just referred to like as the playwright or the author.
He's very much in the background. Yeah.
Yeah. And in this, they kind of, made it more of a family unit to kind of build that out. But no, I would recommend it though.
Okay.
Overall.
I am going to put mine on Renee for sentimental value. Here's my pitch. Her acting in this movie is just simply like when you're in acting school, that is the acting that you want to be able to do. And so I can't really, and that was a big part of my life, going to acting school and being an actor and everything. And it was so, she was just so talented and so in command of her character in a way that is like pretty incredible to me. I don't know if it's going to win because it's very much like an actor's actor performance. So I have to give it to her because it was simply incredible. And she is the thing in the movie that I remember the most. And it's been probably 6 months or whatever, 4 months. I can still picture some of her scenes because of how fabulous she was. So I just have to give it to her. But
did you see The Worst Person in the World?
The Worst Person in the World. I have not seen that yet. Why? Is she in that one as well?
Yes, it's the same director, Joachim Trier.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of her breakout, I think. Yeah, but yeah, she's incredible in that.
She also does it in 2 languages, which I always think is very, very impressive.
No, I've seen. She's incredible in Worst Person in the World. Just so, like, extremely relatable and also just like charming. And then I also saw her. The only other thing I've seen her in was A Different Man from last year, I think, which was a movie I didn't really love. And there were choices in it that I was kind of like, okay. But she, I think, is very good in that and kind of is doing something a little bit different than she was in the other thing. But that, I think that was kind of like, that was all in English. So that was a different one. But yeah, she seems like a pretty special performer that will be.
I feel like she's going to be one of the greats. You know, she's just going to be in the lexicon. Like she feels very much like a younger version of like Dame Judi Dench or Dame Maggie Smith or the dames. So what's your pick?
Well, okay, so I have not seen Song Sung Blue. My parents saw that. It seems like a parents type, no offense to that movie, it seems like a parents type movie. Listen,
when I saw the trailer for it, I thought it was a parody. I thought it was a parody movie.
It feels no, I think
feels
it's
like something Will Ferrell and like those guys would do. And I was just sort of like, that's real. Oh, it's about a cover band. Ooh,
I know. I think
Neil
it's
Diamond.
I think the actual story has, I don't know the exact details. I think it has like a very tragic turn in it that becomes something very dramatic and emotional. I don't know. That's kind of the way my parents described it and from like what I've read. So it does feel like you're like, really? But I think it's like based on a true story thing that you're like, wow, incredible story. But Kate Hudson, happy to see her in there. If I had legs, I'd kick you. I just watched that in 2 installments between a couple days ago and I finished it yesterday. That's an incredible performance. I don't think she has. I would be shocked if she won, but would be deserving. Rose Byrne is an actress that I always love to see. That movie is stressful. I don't think you would like it. So it's directed by Mary Bronstein, who's married to Ronald Bronstein, who's like one of the main producers for the Safdie brothers.
Oh, okay.
So it shares a lot of DNA.
Oh no.
But do you know what it's about?
No, I don't. Is it a woman in a wheelchair?
No, so she's no, it's a metaphor that if I'd like to.
I was like, but when I was looking at the poster, I was like, is that what this is about? No. Oh my God.
People, I mean, kind of a trite comparison, but people are like, it's Uncut Gems for motherhood because it's that type of movie. So it's like she's a mother of a young girl who kind of has like an unknown medical condition. And it's kind of like her life is spiraling, like it's like, I think it seems like part of what it's trying to do is depict kind of what it feels like to have an anxiety attack or just have like severe anxiety, where like everything and everyone in the film is working against her and is like either hostile or indifferent to her.
Yeah.
And a lot of the movie is like close up on her. It's like you don't actually see the kid for almost the entire movie. You just hear the kid's voice. And like Conan O'Brien plays her therapist, and he's just like a huge, or he's just like, it's a great performance by Conan, but he's just like a huge dick. It's a very good performance. It's doing a lot. It is one of those movies where I'm like, I don't connect. I'm sure if you were a parent, it would connect in very specific ways that it doesn't connect to me, but deserving performance.
So Jesse Buckley?
I think Jesse Buckley.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, onwards and upwards. Let's head to Best Actor in a Leading Role. All right. We have Timothée Chalamet for Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, and Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent. I know people are going to be mad at me, but I don't like Timothée Chalamet. And Marty Supreme didn't change my mind.
Boo! Get him!
Yeah, I'm going to be pilloried. But I feel like I didn't see anything in that performance that wasn't something I had seen from him before. And I'm such a terrible judge because I really didn't like Marty Supreme. I've told you this off mic. I recognize that it's a very well made movie and it was very good, but I think that I just like his acting didn't make me have any sort of emotional response. It was just watching someone be horrible to people, and I got angry, but I got angry because of the sort of the plot and the writing, and I don't know. I just like I don't know. I just can't give it. I can't give it to him.
Yeah, I mean I think you kind of have to buy into the Timothée Chalamet stock to buy into this performance too, because it's like a pretty. I don't know. I think I had a similar reaction and bumped on similar things with the movie, but overall came out positive on it just because it's like as a whole, just like score, cinematography, performances outside of Timothée Chalamet, I thought were all quite good. I feel like I'm always I'm on the edge with him, and I think I'm on just a little bit on like, yeah, go for it, Timmy. But it's because but it is like his whole thing, like he's not disappearing into the role of Marty Mauser. You're just like, this is Timothée Chalamet with little wireframe glasses.
To me, it does feel like that whole movie was manufactured to get him here. Do you know what I mean?
In a sense, a little bit. I think it kind of is, and I think he kind of is saying like open about that,
and that's not a bad thing. Like whatever, do your thing. But I also, if maybe I'm gonna pull one thing out from the playwriting and acting classes that I've taken, and the thing about whether you should take a character. Like I had a teacher that was like, when you're looking at scripts and you are deciding whether or not you want to audition, or if you are in the good fortune of being offered something and you're trying to decide whether or not to say yes, the big thing that is just like the first check mark that you have is, does this character have an arc? And this character does not have an arc. They try to shove one in the last 5 minutes, but I don't think that this character actually changes that much throughout the movie. And I think that's kind of the point, like very much with Uncut Gems. Like the point is that these characters can't stop and they get to this kind of conclusion. Whereas Uncut Gems, I think, worked probably better than Marty Supreme in this way, because it is watching a character so double down on the thing that they are that it ends the way it has to, with like a gunshot and you're done. And that is like a very thrilling sort of experience. And also you're just like, whoa, like I just saw kind of the extremes of human emotion. But in this movie, they try to soften it a little bit with the ending, and they try to do something different. And I think that it actually makes it a more hollow performance, if that makes sense. Because I feel like it doesn't actually, like this character, like what that character demonstrated to us 1,000 times why we shouldn't trust him. So why at the end when he cries, you know, I'm not gonna, for those who are still haven't seen Marty Supreme, I won't spoil what is happening, but his sort of end of his arc, I was just sort of like, really, like this is where we're getting off the train. You know what I mean? What do you think?
No, I think yes, there's a formula that's been established between Good Time, Uncut Gems, and Marty Supreme. Well, between Good Time and Uncut Gems. And I watched Good. Have you seen Good Time?
No, I haven't seen Good Time.
Okay, Good Time might be my favorite of them. I'd be interested to rewatch it. I think Good Time is quite good, and Robert Pattinson is quite good. In Good Time, his character is essentially irredeemable. Mm-hmm. I would say his character is a bad person. He's kind of trying to do one thing, which is to help his brother, but for the most part, irredeemable, and he largely pays for it in the end. He doesn't die, but he doesn't end up on top.
Yeah.
And then I saw Uncut Gems, and like halfway through that movie, I was like, okay, he's gonna like that. He's gonna do this until he dies. Like that's what's gonna happen. Clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Marty Supreme. Right. They change that. It kind of follows a similar formula where you're like, this guy's just such an asshole. He can't get out of his own way for 2 seconds or not even, he can't get out of anyone else's way. Like he can only think about himself. He's making all these. He
actively destroys every relationship he has. In that
film. And you're building to this end, and then it like turns the table on you. And then the movie ends. And so I think my charitable read of it, well, there's a couple things where I'm like, if the thing that happens in Japan at the end hadn't happened the way it happened, he would have, like, this change supposedly never would have happened. He still would have been there in Japan trying to like work his way to the top or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then, you get this brief moment, which I do think is the best performance wise. I think the best things that he does in the movie are the end, him breaking down after the match with Endo, and then the crying and the thing. I think that's Timothy's superpower is crying on screen. But I think I guess the way I chose to read the end of the movie is he is not, that's how he's feeling in that moment. There's no guarantee that he doesn't wake up the next morning and just completely abandon these people. Which I'm like, that feels honest at least, but I think reading more about it and how much of it is kind of like a self-insert of Josh Safdie, I'm like,
I think that Josh Safdie, and like he's had some interviews where he's kind of owned up to that. Josh, I think that he feels like this explains it, and this redeems me to his family, right? And if I was his wife and I watched this, I'd be like, you fucking asshole! Did you not even like realize what you're like? You made the perfect argument against your actions.
No, I think that's what he said. He was like, I was so dead set on making Uncut Gems for like 10 years, like had to make that movie. We finally made it. It did well, like got some recognition. And he's like, I felt nothing. And then like a couple years later, he got married and had kids and was like, oh, I feel something now. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, it's a little bit like, okay. I think, for me, the movie, again, I think works as a whole. in a way that I'm not as tied to Timmy's performance specifically and to that. I don't know what the movie's trying to say, I guess. I think he's honestly, if it weren't for Call Me By Your Name, I would maybe not be as, I think that movie does a lot of heavy lifting for
his
view
reputation
of him as an actor. Because I think all of his big roles, I just can't. I mean, it's interesting too, though, because like Paul Atreides, you're like, he's kind of perfect as Paul Atreides because he's supposed to be an arrogant, spoiled child.
Yeah, exactly.
But that movie, I'm like, I can't see. It's still just Timothée Chalamet. You can't.
Yeah, and
I cannot see him.
I think I agree with your assessment. Anyway, back to the category.
Yeah,
I will not be voting for him. Leonardo DiCaprio, I think, did a great job in One Battle After Another. But if I was to, this is the thing, I haven't seen the final three. We want to see The Secret Agent together. My roommate and Alice watched it recently and said it was wonderful. I've seen a little bit about it, and so like I would be comfortable just throwing out a guess on either Wagner Moura. I've also heard Ethan Hawke's performance in Blue Moon was like absolutely incredible. So I think that like in my mind, if they're going to go off of popularity, it would probably be either Marty Supreme or One Battle After Another. But if they're going after the highest form of the art, then I would say like maybe Wagner or Ethan Hawke. And again, you're going to have to inform me. I've heard Michael B. Jordan was fabulous in Sinners, but do you think it was a performance worthy of like an Oscar?
I would be surprised if he won, but maybe. I mean, he's playing twins, so he's playing two characters. Sinners is a movie I really enjoyed, but wasn't like rapturous. Like it was a fun time at the movies for me, and there's a lot of great craft in it, but it wasn't my favorite movie of the year, just like as a whole. So yeah. I think the Leo ones, sure, he's very good in it, but I kind of think he's outshined a little by everyone else.
By almost everyone else, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it'd feel weird if he won, and like, yeah. I do want to see. It's kind of seems like, I think based on other precursor awards, Wagner Moura's potentially has a shot, but I think it's kind of Timmy's to lose. So I have not seen Blue Moon yet too. I do want to see that. I've heard, and I really love Ethan Hawke, so I'd be curious to see that. But I think you're gonna
go Timmy.
I think I put my money on Timmy.
Damn. Okay. I can't do that ethically, so I'm gonna go with Wagner Moura.
Cool.
I also think that really it depends on what the Academy is trying to do. If they're trying to launder their reputation a bit, then I think that they might give it to a foreign language actor, because I think that would just do a lot for, the Oscars so white, like trying to disprove some of that. Okay, so do we want to go to animated feature film? Do we want to go to Best Picture? Do we want to go to directing?
Do you want to talk about Best Picture since we've already touched on a lot of these? We can kind of...
Hell yeah, man. I'm just going to say right off the top, I don't know why F1 is on this list. I feel like F1 is a very strange presence on this list. And it kind of makes me feel like, why would you do that to your reputation? You know what I mean? And I'm talking about the Academy.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm making a face about it. I was like, really? F1? I mean, yeah. I guess Apple TV has a lot of money. It feels just like
somebody
marketing.
Bought a place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe it's great and we're just writing it off. But I have essentially zero interest in
same
seeing that movie, so I'll never find out unless it wins.
Unless it wins, and then we have to eat our words. So the Best Picture nominees are Begonia, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Sinners, and Train Dreams. I have seen Train Dreams, Sentimental Value, One Battle After Another, Marty Supreme, and it sounds like you've seen which ones?
Begonia, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle, Sinners.
Great.
So we've got pretty good coverage.
Yeah, we pretty much cover everything but F1 and Frankenstein.
Yeah, which honestly, I don't think I'm going to watch. Okay, F1, what I assume is what I think it seems like it's a technically like impressive movie. So maybe there's just some essence of that where people are like, I'm impressed by the craft.
But then why wouldn't you get like best cinematography or best effects or,
I don't know.
things? Yeah.
But yeah, I was hoping to see weapons on here instead of F1, but that's okay. We haven't talked about Train Dreams. What was your thoughts on Train Dreams?
Train Dreams. It is atmosphere. It's a very simple movie. It is, you are just kind of following this one guy's life from like the turn of the century, like 1900s, to the 60s, maybe 1890s to the 60s. And it is mostly about him being kind of a simple person living through a time of great change and also seeing sort of the raw brutality of folks, because he also is like he's building the railroad to the west. That's like his job. And like there's he has a family and like sad things happen, happy things happen, but it's very much a movie that is slow. It's beautiful, and it's basically all vibes. I liked it. I don't think it's a best picture.
Sure. It's a movie to me. There's a certain movies, TV shows that I learn about and find out that they're based on a book, and it makes me want to read the book, and I'm kind of indifferent about seeing the movie. I don't know. And this feels like one of those where I'm like, oh, I'm curious. This wasn't an author, Dennis Johnson, I was familiar with. At least one friend said that they love Dennis Johnson's writing. So I was like, that sounds interesting. Maybe I'll check that out. Because maybe kind of what it sounds. I'm wondering if the book maybe has more interiority than it sounds like the movie has.
I think that the book at the very least will have more interiority because it has to be written on a page instead of shown to you. I think that a lot of it is like watching this kind of gruff man sort of experience and learn throughout his life and like feel a lot of things, and you're watching that on his face. And I think that that's the visual form, but it also like the some of the stuff it was trying to say does sometimes veer into tokenism. Sometimes it's like a little bit like things are used as props, but there's also some like really fascinating stuff in it that I think it's a good movie. I would watch it again if people invited me over and were like, hey, you want to watch this movie that I saw? And I'd be like, hey, yeah, that's a great movie. I enjoyed myself. I don't know if I'll seek it out again. I gave it a 4 out of my 5-point scale. So I just like, it's a great movie. I advocate for people to watch it. It's just not one that I think is going to win Best Picture.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think overall, like the list, like it's a good list and it's interesting and it's varied.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't feel like there's not clear, like, Oscar bait in quotes in a sense that you've maybe had in the past. I think Hamnet's kind of been accused of being Oscar bait, but I do think it's like a pretty, I don't know. I guess in my mind, Oscar bait is like a biopic that really isn't made with much craft. It might have a good like central performance. Yeah. That's largely like an impression. I think of like, what's it? Bohemian Rhapsody and stuff like that, or like Green Book, or even like older movies that are just like really sentimental and cloying and kind of this like,
it like is very much about it kind of feels like the books that your dad reads, like the World War II books, like that you walk into your home and you're like, oh, dad's reading his histories again. Like that sort of feeling is the Oscar bait. Yeah.
And I don't know, all these movies, at least, I mean, outside of like, F1, I think, I don't know, the ones I've seen and the other ones, they're made with some craft. They're I feel like they're generally pretty. I'm trying to think. I feel like a lot of them are pretty like auteur driven, where like the director
Like a
is
specific
like
vision.
doing their thing.
Yeah.
Like Begonia for sure. I think Frankenstein, from what I can tell, Guillermo del Toro is doing his thing.
Marty
like
Supreme,
Hamnet,
very safety.
yeah, Marty Supreme, One Battle, like Sinners is very like, I don't know. I just think it is. There's no clear. I mean, obviously F1's not going to win, but if that did, you'd be like, all right, that's a real stinker. But none of these, I think, would be like a major stain on the Oscars.
Yeah. So here's my feel. I feel like there's only 3 on this list that have a real chance. I feel like it's between Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, and Sinners.
Yeah,
I just think it's between those 3.
I think
just
there
because
is
Sinners,
yeah.
I mean, Sinners isn't going to be nominated for that many and not win some. Like, I think that people would be pretty upset if that happened. But I also don't think it's a classic Oscars. You know, it's not like one that I would have expected to even be on the list. But I guess my feeling is that if they made that purposeful statement of we're going to nominate it for the categories ever, that like it does feel like they have to give it something, and I don't know if that's Best Picture or not, so that's why I kind of include it there. One Battle After Another for me was like the most movie event of the year, and then Marty Supreme is like made in a lab to try to win. So I don't like that,
yeah,
but
not in a like made in a lab to win, but not in the way that of the Oscar bait movies I'm describing, because it's a very abrasive movie. It is. But yeah, it does seem to be at least. Yeah. I would maybe include Hamnet in that, although I think it had higher chances earlier and has kind of fallen down. But that one, yeah.
I also think that as a visual medium, Frankenstein and Sinners probably were the most interesting in the use of the form. Like a lot of people, like with the visual imagery, I think, you know, like that is, but sentimental value, great acting. I don't think it's going to win. Train Dreams, very beautiful, also great acting. I don't think it's going to win. Hamnet, I feel like is kind of too simple of a movie to win best, like in my heart, to win Best Picture. And then
I mean, Hamnet, yeah,
keep going.
Hamnet's probably the closest one on this list to like traditional Oscar bait. It's a historical drama based on Shakespeare with like very big performances and like, you know, sad things happen. But I think people were kind of like, oh, it's like Shakespeare and, you know, Shakespeare in Love won whenever that was. And people were like, oh, it's like, I don't know. I think it's still a pretty unique object, and it's interesting enough that it's outside of that category to me.
Here's my stupid political reason why I don't think that The Secret Agent is going to win, is that it is also kind of an anti-fascist movie set in Latin America. And I think if the Oscars gave the Best Picture this year to a movie that was produced not in America, is not in English, that I think that like the Bad Bunny stuff, that like the blowback that we're all kind of feeling now after the Super Bowl, like I think that would be incredibly intense, and I think that it would be worth doing, but I don't think the Academy is going to put their neck out like that.
Yeah,
I think they're cowards.
Sure, but I don't think, is there actually blowback from Bad Bunny, or is it just from the most like, annoying people you know? Like,
it's the most annoying people we know, but all of those people also happen to hold seats of power.
Sure, but there's not like, but there's not like mass. Yeah, I mean, but I think One Battle After Another will probably win, and that's a movie that opens with people liberating an immigrant detention center. So
yeah, but I think it's more liberal coded, if you know what I mean, if that makes sense.
I think One Battle After Another, I would put money on that taking it, and I would be very happy with that. I think it was definitely the best movie I saw this year.
So are we both doing One Battle After Another?
I think so.
Cool. Oba. All right, where we're going next?
Well, I feel like directing we've kind of talked a little bit about. I mean,
Yeah,
it's all people on the picture list, so I don't know if we
Right.
need to go too deep in that.
For me, yeah, it's between One Battle After Another and Sinners again. I haven't even seen Sinners, but I've just like heard such fabulous things, and the choices that person, Ryan Coogler, made seems like he knew what the fuck he was doing to make the perfect sort of encapsulation of the feeling he was looking for. So I think that has a shot. One Battle After Another, I think Paul Thomas Anderson just did an incredible job. So that's, again, sort of my vote there. But do you disagree? What do you think?
Yeah, I think yeah, PTA would be the main choice there. But yeah, I mean, again, kind of what I talked about before is there are just, it feels like strong auteur statements of people doing their thing and having a vision and executing it, which is cool. And yeah, I like it. I
want more of that, please.
I will say real quick, a new category. I'm going off script a little bit. There's a casting category this year, which I think is cool and interesting. And I do think one of my favorite things about Marty Supreme was looking up, seeing everyone who was in it and then reading about it afterwards. She's like, what the fuck were they doing?
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, so I'm like, I feel like that because I mean, you had Penn Jillette as like a crazy farmer with a shotgun.
Yeah,
the Kevin O'Leary of it all, which like that guy's the worst, but his character is the worst. So you're like, I guess he did good. Yeah. The like his friend whose dad has the factory, who does the ping pong balls. He was just like a guy who had a New York Knicks fan account on Instagram, who Josh Safdie saw and was like, I want you in my movie. Tyler, the Creator's in it. There's like a guy pops up who is like in a viral YouTube video from 15 years ago of like the homeless man with the golden voice. Yeah. Like they just got people like with faces and like real New York energy. And I think it worked well.
I agree. It's like 90 to 100 of the people in this film were not actors. And I think that's awesome. I also kind of want more of that. The people weren't all just like the most beautiful people you've ever seen standing in rooms. They were like real people talking like in ways that are real. I don't know. I think that if I was to give anything to Marty Supreme, it would be the casting category.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at animated, right?
Yeah. So I've only actually seen one of these. Now, Aaron is usually the animated movie expert of the house, but we have not gotten through all of these yet. So I've only seen K-pop Demon Hunters, which I don't know. This almost feels like it's kind of a weak category this year.
I would agree.
Like you have I think Pixar is fully not the powerhouse it was.
No, it's fading.
So Elio's like, I don't know. I don't know that there's anything extremely remarkable about Elio. K-pop Demon Hunters was a great.
Same as Utopia 2. Like, I feel like that kind of just faded away as soon as it came out. You know what I mean? Like, nobody I know really talked about it. And it didn't seem like it made a big impression on kids either. Whereas K-pop Demon Hunters, when we went to see the movie at the Alamo, it was like they had half of the theaters were sing-along K-pop Demon Hunter screenings.
Yeah.
So
I forgot about that. Yeah. Did you watch K-pop Demon Hunters?
I've seen, I mean, it's great. It's the Spider-Verse style. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's like, $1 million a minute to animate, but it looks so visually distinct. Like, I think that they did a great job. I think that it introduced, something K-pop to a wider audience, and K-pop is, lab tested to be super appealing to people. So I think it introduced a lot of people to a new thing that they're all going to love. So it makes sense.
Yeah, those songs are catchy as hell. It was fun. We watched it on the snow day couple weeks ago, and it was fun. You can't think too hard about the plot, but fun. Had some good humor in it. I'm like, maybe that'll win just because it's so popular. I don't know. I'm like, I haven't seen Arco. Looks interesting. And I don't really know anything about Little Amelie or the character of Rain, but I think we'll probably try to watch at least Zootopia 2 and maybe Arco before. And I think Aaron watched Ellie on a Plane, maybe, which it kind of feels like that kind of movie. But.
Yeah, I would agree that K-pop Demon Hunters isn't like as a piece of art something that I think will like survive the years. However, I wonder if as a like it could be a good argument against why an award won't be given to Sinners, as like they are doing their popular gift, you know what I mean, and they will give it to K-pop. I'm not sure though.
I do have a question for you actually, because I think that a mild controversy with this category was people felt that they excluded I think the two biggest animated box office animated movies of the year, which was the Chainsaw Man movie and the Demon Slayer movie. And it's like these movies were huge successes and generally well regarded critically, but they're both tied to this much larger property. And so like it makes sense why the Academy voters who maybe watched that were like, I don't get it, and like didn't do it. But it's like, should movies like that, like should these massive anime theatrical experiences be getting nominated?
Here's my thought. Because you could say the same exact thing about superhero movies. You know what I mean? Is that they are all tied to a much larger property, whether it's Marvel or whatever, DC, all these kind of things. And we have given Oscars to Marvel movies. So if it is good enough, then I think there should be an Oscar nom. However, I think that the Academy is like almost singularly unsuited to judge Japanese anime.
And it's probably also like a lot of the voters are like animated equals kids movie. So
which is still I mean, it kind of proves the point that they are not the people who should be making that decision. But I would agree with you. But okay, so I think we have our list. Do you want me to run through what we have? Oh, actually, no. Have you say which one you're gonna do for this?
For animated? I'll say K-pop Demon Hunters.
I'm gonna do that too. Okay, so what we have so far for supporting actress, we have Teyana Taylor for me and Amy for you. For actor, we have Benicio del Toro and Benicio del Toro. For best actor, we have Renee Rensiv from Sentimental Value and Jesse Buckley. We have best actor Wagner Moura and Timmy. For best picture, we have One Battle After Another for both of us. For director, we have Paul Thomas Anderson for both of us. And for animated, we have K-pop Demon Hunters. I feel like it's a pretty good list. I think that it shows that One Battle After Another really made an impression on us this year. Any final thoughts before we log off?
Is there anything that's not on this list that you saw this year? Maybe this is opening up too big of a rabbit hole, but maybe if we pop up Letterboxd real quick. It doesn't have to be a movie that came out in 2025, but a movie that you watched for the first time
this year,
2025. Best movie. Sorry to do this right at the end, but I had thought of this earlier. And I'm gonna sort by when rated.
Oh, I wish they still had
trying to see.
I wish they had that thing from the end of the year that is still available, because that I think had. Rated.
Because I'll say mine. I'm looking at my movies now. Wait, when did I watch? Actually, I have to see when I watch certain things. Ooh, this is hard. Okay, this is hard.
Yeah.
Okay. So I already said the Battle of Algiers. I watched that incredible movie.
Yeah.
Maybe that's third. Second and first is between Dog Day Afternoon, which I watched earlier this week. Incredible movie. And Broadcast News, which I watched back in April.
Okay. I think for me, the highest rated ones I have, it looks like I watched Perfect Days back in April. Could that be? Perfect Days. It's a fabulous movie.
Great movie.
So good. That would probably be number 2 for me this year. And then number 3 would probably be... oh man, do I want to give the answer that I think people would like more, or the answer that I think is true?
You gotta be honest. Be true to yourself.
So the 2 that I am deciding between are Little Miss Sunshine and Drive, and I really liked Drive.
Oh yeah.
So I
own
think
it.
that's my number 3. Nice. I know it's like a teenage boy movie, but it's just like so well done, and the cinematography is beautiful.
Put that poster on your dorm room wall.
God damn it. Cool. All right. And now why don't we talk a little bit about the structure of the podcast for this year? So we were talking a little bit, and in a effort to make it easier to produce the podcast more frequently, we're talking about, instead of doing 2 at a time, that we would do more of like a tournament style bracket where we have one that we do in the month starting out, and then we will watch another movie and say, is that better than the last movie? And then in that way have sort of like a king of the hill that by the end of the year, we will have our chosen favorite movie of the year. Is this something that you still think is a good idea?
I think it's a great idea. I think we can take turns choosing the challenger, and we can also pull in themes if we want. We can pick the challenger based on, it can be a very small connection, but you can pull different themes, and then if we have one movie that keeps winning, then we're going to be motivated to try to
find the better one,
a better movie, which I think is fun. I like watching movies. I had this realization recently of like, I give things high ratings. I also generally try to watch movies that I think will be good.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't usually try to watch crap. So I'm like, maybe that's part of it, and I also just like movies. So usually I'm like, I had a good time, at least a 3.5.
Yeah, exactly. I have a friend who's 5, I think his 3-star is It's a Movie. His 4-star is like, I like that movie. And then 5-star was like, that was a great movie.
Yeah. Perfect.
So sometimes we overthink these things. Now, the big thing is, how do we choose our first one? Should we just make it the best picture winner of the Oscars, which we will find out later this month?
That could be fun. Although that could be one battle after another. That could set a high bar. It could be one battle, which we've already talked about on an episode.
It's true.
So maybe we do something else. I'm just trying to think of what that could be.
We could both find a movie from a previous Best Picture that neither of us have seen and watch it, and then start that.
That could be fun. I like that.
Okay, cool. Then everyone, you're going to find out. Maybe we'll do a Culture Boys before we announce what that movie will be, but we'll start looking and figure it out. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Movie versus movie. Movie versus movie. Movie versus movie. Movie versus movie.